Hi, Garrett. So obviously, you know you're on Zoom with me. I'm recording our session, okay? Can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
can hear you perfect. All right. Basically, what we were talking about on the phone is your prior case. And we talked about this being a learning moment for other people who could face a similar situation later in life. So I just want to make sure I have your permission to record you. Obviously, I'm on it. My audio, your audio, both of our videos are on it. And if it's okay with you, I'll later share this to my YouTube channel to help educate other people about the way the process should go.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that's good. You're no objection to me recording.
No.
Okay. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna kind of go through your case without saying names and stuff. I'm gonna kind of read a little bit of your police report. Give me a sec to get back to there. Obviously, this is a case that's already closed, but like we were saying, this may benefit other people in the future. So let's go to. I gotta close a couple of things. All right, almost there. Almost there. Okay. So I gotta click. First, I'm gonna click the 5. Of course, I'm having a hard time going backwards for some reason. Bear with me. I'm just trying to get the actual.
Okay, no problem.
Police report that we're dealing with. There it is. Okay. All right. So I'm just kind of the ultimate charges that you were facing were assault, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated battery on an officer, criminal mischief over 1,000, resisting an officer with violence, resisting an officer without violence, and at least on the police report, crash leaving the scene without giving information, right? So, and I'm gonna kind of just highlight this because this is a long PC and no one wants to hear me read. But basically, sometime a few years ago, you were in Palm Beach County, and according to the police report, the officer felt a jolt from behind, looked in his rearview mirror, saw that the vehicle behind him had 2 people in it, you being one of those people, that he activated his emergency lights. And again, this is his version. We'll go to your version in a minute.
Correct.
He activated his overhead lights, and that at that time, he indicates that the silver vehicle's front bumper was still in contact with my rear bumper, is what the officer says. It says that the vehicle, Kenton, put his vehicle in reverse and backed it up approximately 2 to 4 feet. And there I was standing directly towards where I was standing. As the defendant drove toward me, we made eye contact, and that he attempted to conceal his identity by ducking his face down towards the floorboard. Probably because he had his firearm, which is kind of what we learned, right? Is that he pulls his firearm. It says, "I removed my department issued weapon with my right hand and pointed it at Kenton, as I believe my life and safety to be in imminent danger and the deadly force may have to be used." Basically, he was admitting that he was about to shoot you and kill you.
Correct.
With my left hand, I had to push away from the hood of the vehicle to gain distance while I lunged toward the median for safety to avoid being struck or dragged by the vehicle. It says the vehicle fled. Defendant attempted to make a U-turn but was unable to do so in oncoming traffic. I ran to the location where the U-turn and pointed my service weapon at him, meaning you, and ordered him out of the vehicle. He exited the vehicle, and then according to this officer, you said, "You're going to shoot me," using the N-word. I gave Kenton several lawful commands to get on the ground. We were both standing there, and he said, "F-U-N, I ain't doing shit. What you going to do about me? You egg-headed F-N, F-U." I continued to give verbal commands to get him on the ground, which he continued to disobey. Now, he's saying that you're basically acting crazy. He then says, I holstered my weapon and attempted to physically direct him to the ground using an arm bar. The defendant actively resisted my attempts, pulling his arms away 3 to 4 times and refusing to be placed them behind his back. Due to the defendant's aggressive behavior, I removed my taser and told the defendant that if he did not comply, I would deploy my taser. He then complied with my commands and placed his hands on the trunk, and I handcuffed him. Later says that prior to being placed in the cell, that you were checked for contraband, according to department policy, that you were very aggressive, belligerent, and because you were not immediately allowed to take phone calls. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. People think that they instantly have a phone call, but it doesn't really work like that. You actually wait in line on a payphone in the jail.
Mm-hmm.
It says that, and again, this is just a police report version. We're going to get all of your version, that you began to kick the door in a violent manner, which is a cell, which I don't think you could hurt a cell door too badly. And unless you have some kind of superhuman strength, I think they're kind of built for security and what have you. But it says that he asked you to move away because he entered the cell to refrain you from kicking the door, and that he would have to use the tarp technique to restrain the use of his legs to prevent injury to himself and damage to the door. He used abusive and profane language, meaning you, as he forcefully kicked the door, almost causing it to strike me in the face. Another officer was there, witnessed the assault, entered the cell with him, of course, because he's not going to do it by himself, and that you were physically directed to the ground. Basically, they kind of beat you up, threw you to the ground, and put a tarp strap around your legs. And it says you refused to sit in the holding cell, and that they had a body-worn camera. We're going to talk about that because I think you said you never saw it.
Correct.
Ultimately, you were able to slip his cuffs and unhook the tarp, likely due to his thin structure. Basically, they said you got out of the handcuffs and the tarp strap. It says that Lieutenant Marcy came in, was able to de-escalate your behavior and allowed him to use a cell phone to make a call. And then you were returned to the cell without handcuffs due to your calm demeanor. Sort of crazy, right? The guy that, he's saying one part, now you're super calm, right? So
Exactly.
A short time later, you began to finally kick the door, bang the fist again, demanded to use the phone again. And when asked what was wrong, he said, F you, y'all broke my wrist and my arm. As request, I got the medics involved. They came to the booking area to provide service. The medics, the defendant continued to kick and bang the door to the point that the door and the slide lock began to bow out. You must be a really strong individual, because I've never seen a jail door even have a ding in it. Maybe some sketches on it where someone used something sharp to kind of write something like John was here. But
yeah,
it should be noted that the door lock was damaged. It took time. It took several attempts to get the lock to slide over to open the door. It says the medics were present, that Garrett to step back in the cell. They asked you to step back. You didn't. And that he began to pull the door closed and spat directly in the face of one of the officers. The medics on scene immediately began decontamination procedures. The door was closed again to the holding cell. Defendant began to kick on the door again. They shackled you, finally entered the cell in handcuffs, shackled without further incident. The medics were able to check you out, said that you were fine. You had some swelling on your hands, which they stated was likely from banging he was doing that they witnessed. The damage of the door was photographed, and based on the evidence, you were charged with aggravated assault, battery on a Leo, kicking the door in an attempt to strike me, placing me in fear that I was about to be struck had I not moved abruptly, for the damage and likely replacement of the doors, initial physical resistance of the arrest at the arrest scene and for leaving the scene of the accident. So that's their version. So you called me, right, Kenton,
Yeah.
with some questions about the procedure. And again, without going into who your attorney was and all that, you had some questions. So let's go through them, because as I said, this is a perfect training moment for people that are in your situation, that have been arrested, have had allegations presented against them. It's also an opportunity for other attorneys to see this. I'm sure they kind of know what the procedure is, but maybe it's a young attorney and they don't know what the procedures are and how to truly help someone. So tell me what happened.
Okay. First of all, appreciate you taking my call. If this is going to help somebody else out, I'm down for it. But the thing about it is there are so many procedures and this new type of law enforcement type of things that's going on, to where now it's getting to a point to where we can't trust a lawyer. Now, is he for this? Is he for the state? Is he for the police? We try to give our recall to what happened, the incident that went on, but then sometimes our words and our actions are used against us due to try to protect yourself.
So let me address that for you real quick, right? Because I'm almost treating this conversation as an initial consultation, right? Even though your case is over, but we're going to use it as a learning tool. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I need to let my clients know is that anything that they say to me is 100% confidential. I am not sharing it, right?
Okay.
Second thing I do is, as you tell me your story, I make notes, right? And the reason I make notes is I want to know, did you have a camera? Did you have a witness? Was there anyone there? Did you see anybody else with a camera, right? Did the police officer have a camera? I'm making those notes. Right. Then what I'm doing at my initial case consultation, and I don't know what your attorney did, but I'm telling you how I do it. I make notes of what I believe should be done and how I'm going to attack the case. And I write those down so my client can see them. And if he wants a copy, I go, sure. And I literally take that and I'll put it through a copy guy. I go, this is, if you hire me, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
Because you have, well, I shouldn't say this is what we're going to do, because you as the client gets to make that choice. I say, here's what I think should be done. If you're my family, if you're my brother, this is how I would do it. So this is what I'm recommending, but you ultimately make that choice.
Correct.
All right, so go ahead. So go on. Tell me what happened in your situation.
Okay, here's what happened. My sister-in-law was living with us. She got up about, I would say, between 10 and 11 a.m. She says, can you do me a favor? I says, what's that? Can you take me down here? I want to get some weed. I said, sure, no problem. I didn't want to do it, but the situation at our home at the time, because my wife had just had surgery, she was here to help her sister. And of course, I didn't want no conflict in the home, which I knew was wrong to do, because like I said, I don't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, weed's not the crime of the century.
Right. So I took her down there. She got, I went around the corner. She went and got her. And as I was on my way back home, I noticed this West Palm Beach police officer in front of me. So I said, it was a 2-lane. So we're turning left, which we're going to get ready to turn to go south. And like I said, I saw the cop car and I said, well, I'm not going to get on the side of him. I'm just going to in the back of him.
So was he at a traffic light? Just so I understand.
Yes, it was at a traffic light. The light had turned red. And I sat there and the light turned green. He wasn't moving. So I said, well, I'm not going to wait for this guy. I'm not going to sit through another, red light. So I'm going around him. I didn't have to put my vehicle in reverse. Went around him, and as I'm coming around him, and on the left-hand side of making the turn to the left, it was a medium. So I'm not going to jump over the medium. So he opens his door. So I'm turning my wheel like, wait a minute, what's going on with this guy? So I couldn't go nowhere. I'm not going to jump over the medium, and I'm sure not going to go.
So you're saying he changes lanes as you go around him, he blocks you?
No, he just opened his door.
Oh,
so that's like if you're making a turn left,
sure.
And the person next to you in the car opens the door.
Sure, you can hit the door.
You could take the door off. So I just, I'm like, and he did it so fast. Then he jumps out with his gun out.
Are his overhead lights on by any chance?
No lights were on.
Okay.
And he pulls his gun out, so I'm basically putting my windows down, yelling, "Yo, man, what's your problem? Why is this need for all this gun?" And we went exchange words. Yes, get out the car, get out the car, get out the car. So I comply. I got out the car. My passenger didn't get out the car. I got out the car. Mm-hmm. He says, stand over here. And at the time, I got my hands in the air. Okay. Just like this, hands in the air. Had all my credentials in my pocket. My registration to the vehicle, my license, and so forth and so on. My insurance and everything. So as I'm standing there with my hands up, I'm asking him, what is your problem? Yo, man, what is the need for you to pull your gun out on me? For what? What have I done that you have to do this? So then he puts his gun away. Then he pulls out his stun gun. Now, all that you have read about the report was false. It was a lie. Because all I did was ask this man what was his problem and what was the reason for him to pull his gun out. And now you want to tase me? And then, I said, well, and he was by himself, one officer, African-American, black officer. So I put my hands on the car. So then he comes up and he cuffs me. And I said, well, are you arresting me? What crime did I commit that you arrested me and you pulled a gun out on me? So he squeezed the handcuffs so tight. And that's what, pissed me off. Now I'm mad because, I got these handcuffs on tight.
It hurts, I'm sure.
Of course. So I'm telling him, yo, man, there's no need for all this. No need. And this is just one officer.
Now, prior to this, I just want to be clear. You're saying that your car did not come into contact with his car?
No.
Okay, no. So opposite of what the police report is telling us.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So then by then, me and him exchanging words and whatever. I'm standing there with handcuffs. He's checking my license and stuff. By then, here comes another officer. Several came. So.
Let me ask you a quick question, just because of what you said. At this point, you're already handcuffed.
Right.
Police report, and it's very, very important, right? Because defense attorneys look at police reports. It's rare that we want our client to speak, but it's your choice. If you were my client, it's your choice whether or not to testify if the case goes to a motion or a trial. But in his report, he says that he jumps out of the way, you go past, you go to make a U-turn, but are blocked by traffic, and then basically he goes to the other side of the road, now traveling a different thing, and aims a gun at you and forces you out of the vehicle.
There was no traffic. Like I said, it was between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. There's no traffic, none whatsoever.
But did you even go past him?
No, I couldn't make it. Remember, he opened his door.
Okay.
So if I went past him, I would have tore his door off the hinges.
Okay, so you didn't even do that. Okay.
No. And I turned the wheel enough to where I couldn't hit his door because I could feel the car hitting the median.
Gotcha.
And if I would have stepped, but it was just a little small Kia compact car, so it was lower.
Okay.
And I couldn't go over it if I tried it.
Yeah, all you're trying to do is get home, and there's a car blocking traffic, so you just went around him.
Correct, because he sat at the light when it was green, and he sat there, and I said, well, I'm not going to sit here. What is this problem? So, like I said, by the time I went around, the door had flung open, and there's no way I could have went through without tearing the door up or knocking it off the hinges. And all that he's saying that I'm trying to flee. He had to throw me to the ground. I had to get to the ground. I wasn't compliant. There was no way, no shape, no form that I laid on the ground, that I was trying to flee him and they had to follow me or whatever. The car did not move, no further than going around him.
So once he pulled his weapon, you literally laid down on the ground.
No. That's why I said that I never laid on the ground.
Oh, okay.
No. See, all of this that he's saying and all this that the report is saying never mentioned that there was someone else in the car that, you know, she seen everything that went on.
Gotcha.
And like I say, my lawyer never, you know, he tells me he's going to, talk to her, which I brought her down to his office, and he asked her a few questions, and he says, okay, well, I'm gonna get your statement, you know. So he's writing things down. I don't know if he wrote it down, but she's telling him, okay, this what happened. This what went on. No, he didn't try to flee. No, he didn't have to lay on the ground.
No, he didn't hit the car.
No, he didn't hit the car. Correct.
Okay.
Because there is no damage.
Okay.
There was no damage.
When he writes that down, well, you just said that's an interesting point. When you got out of jail, right, because you went to jail, then you bonded out, correct?
Correct.
And they probably would have impounded the vehicle.
No, they just had it towed by our local towing service.
See, right there tells me that there's an issue with your case, right? Because if that was used in the commission of a crime, right, that vehicle, which they're saying it was, then
Correct.
It would be evidence in a crime and it would be held by law enforcement. It wouldn't have just been towed.
Right.
You got it back? I'm assuming you got the car back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we got it back the next day, I think it was.
And the next day, let me just ask you this. They said that, according to this officer, that you hit the vehicle, right?
Right.
So was there any transfer of paint on your vehicle and on the police? Well, I know you can't speak for the police vehicle. Was there any transfer of paint on your car?
No.
Okay.
No, none whatsoever. Silver.
Okay.
So, and theirs are, I guess, their cruisers are black, I think. In Palm Beach County Police Department, I think their cars are black.
Okay.
And got black bumpers.
A marked unit, a marked police car.
Right. Yeah. It's it has on there, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach Police. Okay. He was in uniform. Like I say, he was a patrol cop, I imagine. Okay. And like I say, never asked in the report, never said anything about passenger.
Sure. So that was obviously an important point for your attorney to take down that information.
Correct.
Look, I'm gonna go online real quick, and I'm gonna look, and I just want to see if a defense witness list was ever listed. All right, let's go back. Oops. Hang on 1 second. We're gonna check it out.
Because I'm still learning about all this stuff that I am, was charged with. Even I got the written report and still didn't. From what you're telling me, I didn't hear about some of these allegations that they were saying I did because they weren't in the written report that I got.
Gotcha. So what happens is there's an initial police report. We call it the probable cause affidavit or the arrest form, depending where you are. It's basically the initial police report. It's usually, maybe a couple pages long. After we apply for discovery, we request discovery from the state attorney's office. We then get a list of everything, right? If another officer showed up, their reports, any witnesses that may have encountered this stuff. So I'm looking real quick. I'm looking at your documents. Notice of arraignment canceled, state to file charges, waiver of arraignment, add attorney, not guilty plea. And you have over 10 pages of stuff. They filed the information with all of those charges. The only one that was not charged, it looks like, maybe it was the leaving the scene. I can't see your information right now because it's locked, but I believe that the leaving the scene was thrown out. There's a waiver of speedy trial. And the reason I'm looking for this, right, is because when a witness tells me, when a client tells me I have a witness, the first thing I do is I vet the witness, right? I want to make sure, right? Like, you said that this person was, went to get weed. Were they high? Were they drinking? Were they under the influence? I need to know those things, because if they were, they're probably not going to be a good witness. And I want to see how detail oriented they are. I also want to know what criminal history they have. I want to know what their relationship to my client is. All right, so hang on. All right, so I'm looking at the witness list, right? There is a witness list that was filed in your case. And the only person is a sergeant from the police department. So which is kind of odd to me, but, let's see. I'm just to see if there's anything else. I'm going down. Strike all future dates. Let's see. So I don't see anything else unless I'm missing it. I'm on page 7 right now. All right, then they had some, which is common in a lot of cases. They look for competency and that kind of stuff.
Correct.
All right, and then looks like there's always time spent with that stuff. And then guess what? I see nothing else. Nothing else. No, I'm just looking for a defendant's witness list. So again, what I would have done is I would have taken that person's information that, came in, was a witness to the crime. I don't take I listen to them, right? I don't write anything down as far as my own notes. I write something down, but I don't make them sign a sworn statement. The reason for that is I don't want to capture them in their testimony, because some people tell the story slightly different the second time, and you don't want someone to be accused of lying or giving false information. So I get the gist of it, and then I list them as a defense witness. And then the state attorney takes a deposition of that person to kind of hear what they got to say, right? Because it's important. If I'm setting the case for trial, or if there's a motion, they kind of need to know. And of course, they're going to say, okay, this person's family, that's a reason to lie. But hey, sometimes your witness is your family. So, you got what you got. The judge may look at it, but it depends on how well they articulate themselves about what happened. Combine that with, in your case, I would have told you to have your wife take pictures of your vehicle, on the front of your vehicle, to show that there's no scratches or dents or stains. I would have asked, as a defense attorney, for the state to turn over pictures of the police car, because if this whole thing started from an alleged hit and run, there's got to be something. There's got to be a scratch, a transfer of paint, a dent, right?
Correct.
It's very difficult to get one man, like you got two men talking, right? You said he was a black officer, you're a black gentleman, you're black, defendant. Who are we going to believe? They're going to believe the cop. So we got to look at credibility. Hey, you're saying this guy hit your car, but there's not a dent, there's not a scratch, there's no paint transference. Starts to lead into a little bit of credibility. All right, so keep going. I'm just going to comment on your things as we go to, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. But I'm
Sure,
telling you
sure.
the things that I would have done right from the beginning if you had been my client.
Okay. And it's very ironic that, you know, you went through the whole report and it's not mentioned nothing about the passenger. You know, because she was my witness, and that was my wife's
I got to tell you,
sister.
the report did say that it was occupied twice. I don't know if they ever put her name in it, but it did say that there were 2 occupants in the vehicle. It did say that.
Right, right. And, you know, they finally take me to the local precincts, which is West Palm Beach.
Well, let's go back. By the time you said other officers arrived on scene, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes, yes.
How many officers showed up?
2.
Okay, 2 other vehicles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you know, they're asking me, well, what went on, what's going on? And I'm explaining myself, and then, you know, basically telling him, you know, what went on, what happened. And then it was really nothing really said between me and these other officers, no more than he says, okay, sit tight, we're gonna, you know. And then they took me and put me in one of their cars, and we left. And then I guess they got her, because they didn't put me and her in the same vehicle. And
wait, say that one more time.
They didn't put me and her in the same vehicle. They put her in another vehicle.
But did they arrest her?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that they took her down, and she didn't. They didn't arrest her. They gave her a warrant. I mean, you know, like a citation to say. She did admit that, you know, that was her marijuana.
Oh, because they found marijuana in the car.
Correct. After they searched it, because that's the first thing I told her. I says, well, you know, you need to let these people know what, you know, what's going on, what happened, what occurred. So that means you got to tell them that, you know.
I got it. But it was a misdemeanor amount of marijuana.
Correct. I imagine so, because, like I say, they just gave her a warrant.
NTA, yeah, notice to appear.
Appear in court, correct. And they took me down. They kept me, but they let her go.
So let me ask you this, because in the very beginning in that police report, it talks about like almost like a fight, right? That you put your feet up and you know, like you're ready.
No. How can I put my dukes up when I got my hands up like this?
Because he's aiming a gun at you.
Correct. Straight up. That's the first thing I did. As soon as I got out of the car, put my hands up. Put my hands up.
How did you come to be handcuffed? Were the other officers involved with that, or was that just you? Like just that cop? Was it? Were you basically put in handcuffs by the one cop?
Yeah. Basically by the one cop. Because once, you know, he put his gun away, then he pulled his taser. He gonna tase me. Put your hands on him. Put your hands on the. So I put my hands on the back of the, you know, the cruiser, and he just handcuffed me. You know, I didn't resist. I didn't fight. I didn't no more than, you know, tell him what I felt, and that was basically, you don't have no reason to do this.
Okay.
Why are you doing this? What's the big deal? What are you trying to accuse me of?
Okay.
And they wouldn't say nothing until.
But you're ultimately taken. Basically you're taken out of the car at gunpoint. Basically, you didn't even know why.
Correct.
You just got out and go, hey, what are you doing? Like, what like maybe you got the wrong person, or why you.
Right. Because, like I said, I don't have a criminal record. This is my first offense, even dealing with law enforcement when it comes to a situation like this. Okay. So, like I said, I put my hands on the back, because all I did was have my hands up. That's why I couldn't understand what they mean by he took the stands. He was standing there in a aggressive mode or something. I guess anybody would be angry, or sort of ticked off to you know, this guy pulling the gun out on you, you know, because you know, we know what you know, basically law enforcement do, is shoot you and then ask questions.
Gotcha.
Or try to.
He quotes in his report, given the recent incidents involving ambushes on police officers, I exited my vehicle and flanked the silver vehicle driver's side door to the left of it, thus placing in the inside turning lane. At that time, I saw the defendant's vehicle was occupied by a black male driver wearing glasses and a black female. The silver's front bumper was still in contact with my rear bumper. The driver of the vehicle, not known as the defendant, basically he didn't know your name at the time, put his vehicle in reverse and backed up approximately 2 to 4 feet, and then put the vehicle in drive and drove into the lane of traffic that I was standing in, directly toward where I was standing. As the defendant drove toward me, we made eye contact and he attempted to conceal, right? So then he says that you make a U-turn, right? And all of these things. And then it says, you get out of okay, his words. He then exited the vehicle in an aggressive manner and assumed a boxer's stance with his hands by his midsection, saying, what you gonna do? You gonna shoot me? And I gave Kenton several lawful verbal commands to get down on the ground as we were both standing on the median island of the roadway. He said, F you. I continued. I then holstered my weapon and attempted to physically direct him to the ground using an arm bar. Now it says attempted to arm bar you. Defendant actively resisted by pulling his arms away and refusing to place them behind his back, preventing me from handcuffing him, even as he was told that he was under arrest. Due to his aggressive nature, I removed my department-issued taser and told him if he didn't comply, I would deploy it. He then did put the hand on the trunk. So you're saying that none of that happened. There was no struggle. There was no put the handcuffs on. Okay.
No. And like I said, the witness passenger was there. She's seen everything.
It never got that. You never had your so-called day in court.
No.
Ultimately, you took a plea to this case, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about that, because you were giving me some real good information when we spoke on the phone. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Even when we was going to court for this, this is such a crooked system to where I was the last one to talk to the judge. Last. Everybody went on and on. I'm like, there's no one in here. There's no one in here. With me, the stenographer, the lady that writes everything and records everything, they're there, I'm there, my wife's there, and her sister, which was the passenger in my car. And the lawyer was there, and he talks to me, and I tell him, well, you're going to let my sister-in-law, oh yeah, we don't worry about that. And
well, you asked about your sister-in-law. Is she gonna get to speak?
Right, exactly,
okay.
Exactly. Is she going to testify to what went on to let the judge know?
Let me ask you this, because when you're at this final hearing, I know what it is, so I'm sort of. When you're doing this, you're not at a trial. You're not picking jurors. You're just sitting in front of the judge because he's basically going to take a plea bargain from you.
Right.
But did you know that at the time? Because at a plea bargain, witnesses don't speak. At motions to suppress or dismiss, or at a trial, witnesses speak. But a plea bargain, witnesses don't speak. I'm assuming because you're asking this question, you're kind of telling me what happened. You didn't even know that. You and your attorney didn't talk about that.
No.
So let's talk about let's talk about leading up to that, and then you're going to tell me about that moment. Your case lasted, I assume, several months, right?
A year.
Okay, a year. During the course of that time, did you get a copy of your discovery?
Did
you get a copy of the police reports, the videos?
Yeah, I got a copy of the police reports. I kept asking about the video. Every time I went to my lawyers, and we had, he would go for a hearing of the case, and I never got. He says, "You want a copy of the video from his dash cam?" I said, "Yeah." They got it? He said, "Yeah, they got it." I said, "Well, let me see it." even my wife was there about 4 times every time I went to go see my lawyer, and we kept asking, "Where's the video? Where's the video? I want to see the video." He never came forth with it. He never showed me this video. The last time he told me about this is when I was just about before the year before I was going to be sentenced. He shows me a video. He says just like that. Yeah, well, I got a video. I got a video. I said, well, when I'm gonna see it? He said, well, I'm gonna take you in the back. You know how by you being the lawyer, you know, you take your client off to the side or in the back room or something, and you know, you discuss your case. And he says, no, I'm gonna take you in the back and I'm gonna show you the video. He never did. And I'm sitting there asking him 1,000 times, and my wife is sitting there like, when is he gonna show you the video? And he never.
One of the main things is you should never be at a situation where you're making a decision on the future of your case without seeing all the evidence in your case. If there's
Correct.
a video in your case, and not just your case, if anyone who's watching this is trying to figure out how the system works,
Mm-hmm.
soon as an attorney files in, he says, Judge, we're pleading not guilty. I'm representing him, and we're asking for a jury trial. Even if you're not really asking for a jury trial, to basically get your rights to start working, to be able to be entitled to discovery, you have to say that. Because
Right.
no one knows in the beginning whether it's a jury trial or a plea or not. You may have an inclination, but you always ask for a jury trial.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get that discovery information. Discovery is supposed to come within 30 days. Yeah, doesn't always happen. Here's the reality. I don't jump up and down about it. I've had discovery where I didn't get it for 4 months, but I send an email. I keep everything in detail because my client's going, hey, Foley, where's the discovery? I emailed the prosecutor. Oh, I'm working on it. I don't want to bother him too much, but if the judge says to me during a case, Mr. Foley, what's going on with the case? Judge, I'm still waiting on discovery. I think the state's working on it. And then they'll say, state? And then the state goes, yes, Judge, I'm still getting discovery. A lot of times when the state's still getting discovery, we'll take a joint continuance. People get caught up in speedy trial. Don't get caught up in speedy trial. You don't want to speed to a trial if you're going to get convicted of it. And I say that because if I don't have all the information that I need to protect you and be diligent in my defense in the theme of my case and look up motions to suppress or dismiss, if I go there and I miss those because I don't have discovery, I'm doing you a disservice and you'll probably get convicted. So every attorney should have all of the discovery before you get to a plea, before you get to a trial, because you need to review that with your client. And it sounds like that didn't really happen because you never saw the video.
No, correct.
Did your attorney, just out of curiosity, and I'm not trying to throw any attorneys under the bus or whatever, so we're not mentioning names. We're going to use it as a strict training thing. Did your attorney ever tell you that he or she watched the video?
He said he watched it.
Okay.
And he said from what he's seen, it didn't look like what they're trying to accuse you of. And I said, well, let me see it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see it. Oh, when you come to my office, I'm going to show you. I get to his office, where's the video? Where's the video? My wife, even when I was sentenced, my wife was like, where's the video? You know, even before I bonded out, she was like.
Let me ask you this. To this day, and you've done a sentence, right? You've done
9 months and some change.
9 months and some change. And all those charges, you became a convicted felon.
Correct.
And this was some time ago.
Correct.
All right. You still haven't seen the video.
Correct.
All right. What I'm going to tell you to do is I'm going to tell you to reach out to that attorney and request a copy of that video. You need to see that video. It's important.
Sure it is, yes.
It's moot at this time, but I mean, I got to tell you, I can't imagine resolving a case where there's video, I've acquired the video, my client doesn't do it. I think that it's like malpractice.
Sure. Because here's the thing, Foley. Me and my wife sat there and we went over and over and over it again to about this attorney. And I call him up. I go to his office because he's, like I say, he's local. So it's not far for me to go see him and set up appointments. I was seeing him 3 times a week, 2 times a week. There wasn't a time that I wasn't on the phone talking to him to get him to start telling me, because I always said, I pay you to tell me, teach me. I'm paying you, teach me. Tell me what's going on. I want to know what's going on. You call and tell me, well, I got a court date, but I don't need you to be there. I said, well, I'm gonna go anyway. And I've always went, even when there was time.
To people all the time, I go, listen, you might wait there 2 hours and I might walk in for 5 minutes and go.
Correct.
But
yeah,
at least you know what's going on.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to, to know firsthand. And every time I would ask him about discovery, this video, he would always tell me, okay, next time you come, I'm gonna have it. And that's what kind of got me and my wife frustrated with this lawyer, because he wasn't, and I couldn't understand it. And I always fought him with this. I pay you to teach me, to have my interests at heart to the best of your ability, because you're a lawyer, you know all about the ins and outs of the court system.
Not necessarily to teach you, but to
educate,
educate you on what the facts of the case from the prosecution's perspective is, and to
Correct.
teach you what he thinks his theory or theme of the case, if you go to trial, right? How is he going to defend you? Right.
Exactly. And, always come out his mouth saying, you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to go to jail. Nah, in this case, blah, blah, blah. No. Then he would come.
On the phone. Tell me about that, because you said on the phone, he's like, when you first hired him, say X, Y, Z, and tell me what he was saying in the beginning.
When I first called him and talked to this guy, he says, okay, I can take the case. I'll take the case. I said, well, you sure? I said, because what they're trying to accuse me of, if anybody else looks at it, they'll swear you don't stand a snowball chance in hell. Because I didn't know at the time some of the allegations to what I'm being charged of, what was basically going on. But I knew it didn't look good, didn't sound good. So I informed this lawyer to what's going on. What can you get me off of this type of case?
And what
I've had cases worse than this, and I got people off, blah, 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 blah. And yours is not that bad. Do you have a record? I said, no, this is my first offense. He says, oh, well, you don't have nothing to worry about. You're not going to go. So I says, okay, when do you want set up for me to come in your office? So he set up an appointment for me, which would have been the week later, and I was in his office, and then that's when he started telling me about himself, telling me about all his cases he had, his cases he's won, and I never knew this guy was a public defender before he got his own practice, until basically I'm in jail and, sentenced. And then my wife, we really started looking this guy up, and he finally did tell her, oh, I was a public defender.
So that's not, in fairness to public defenders around the country, I've met some outstanding public defenders. Seriously, like public defenders that I left conferences with where we did mock trials, where I went, man, I'm glad I don't have to go up against that person, because they'd ragdoll me. So I've met some public defenders, especially federal public defenders, just outstanding. But I understand that the sentiment generally is in the community that public defenders aren't that good. So I make that analogy to, all police are bad. Now you can't say that, right? all, whatever the stereotypes are with races and different things, right? When they say there's no, right, we're all individuals, right? So you
Correct.
will have some public defenders that will fight in battle, and then you got the ones that fit the stereotype that don't do anything, right? So it's an individual thing. So the one thing I want to point out is, and it's not because I have friends that are public defenders or anything, it's just I believe in giving everybody an opportunity to prove themselves. Like Martin Luther King says, right? Judge a man by the content of his character, not by the color of his skin. Don't label all public defenders bad because they're public defender, because there might be some public defenders out there that, are just super attorneys, so
Right.
that's
right.
my little tangent, but go ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand to a certain degree, but what I couldn't understand is this guy blowed so much smoke up my butt to where, I was starting to believe in this guy. Oh, this guy is, it seems like he's a good lawyer, because he's always was saying he was a pit bull. He was a pit bull. And my wife would say, he's a poodle. He's not a pit bull. This guy's a poodle. Because when we would go, he wasn't fighting for me. He wasn't fighting for me to ask all these questions like you're doing right now to me, asking me these questions and going through every bit of my charges. He never did that.
Let me ask you a real simple question. When you went to his office the first time a week later, were you driving the vehicle that was involved in the incident?
Yeah.
Did he ever ask to look at your vehicle?
Nope.
That's scary to me.
Nope.
That's the first thing. I've had cases that are similar where there's hit and run or police. I could think of one guy that came to my office and he goes, man, this cop had the dog jumping up on my car and his foot, the dog's nails scratched my paint up. And I said, let's go out there and look. Let me look. So I always do that.
Right.
But that's just odd. Did he ever ask you for any evidence of the damage on your vehicle, like a picture of your vehicle?
Nope, never did. Like you say, we drove the vehicle the next day when we picked it up from the impound, which was, like I say, it was our local towing company. And we went and picked the vehicle up, had to pay them $200 some to get it back for one day. And, it just became, a money pit that we kept was paying money just to, try to resolve this situation. And it just became more expensive.
So tell me this, how did you ultimately end up coming to a plea? When were you informed that there was a plea offer on the table? Well, let me go back. How long did it take to get the video? I know you never saw it. When did he go, here's the video, like you showed me that CD before? How long?
Okay, this was probably about 4 to 5 months before I was sentenced. He says, here's the video. I said, let me see it. Okay, I'm gonna take you in the back and show you.
Let me ask you, you're talking to me on a computer right now, right?
Correct.
When this happened, you had a computer?
Yeah.
Did you ask him to upload the file to the internet, to Dropbox or anything like that? Because I send videos to my clients. I send them, they go right into Dropbox and they watch the video.
No, because he asked me, did I want a copy? I said, yeah. Give me a copy. I want to see it.
And?
Never got it. It just went into another conversation. It just went on. Trust me. We're going to get you off this. I'm going to take care of this. Trust me. Where's the video? My wife, like I said, my wife went with me just about every time I went to my appointment with him. And we were asking, even when I was, I think it was like I said, 6 to 3 to 4 months before I was sentenced. He was in court. He says, I got the video. Because I kept asking. He says, I got the video. I said, oh, good. Let me see it. I'm going to show it to you. And that's when I went in front of the judge, and the judge was saying he had to set the date for another day, another discovery, another day. And then he says, well, I said, when I'm gonna see the video before I left the courthouse. He says, oh, come to my office, call my secretary, make an appointment.
Okay.
So I called the secretary. That's next day, made an appointment. Where's the video? Never seen the video. And my wife kept saying, did you get the video? Asking him, where is the video?
So you never saw it, even before you took your plea. Never saw it.
Never saw it. Never saw it. Never saw it.
How did you go to, hey, I'm waiting on the video. I want to see the video. Well, let me ask you this. Because I played ping pong a little bit. I jump because my mind goes I rapid fire.
I do the same thing. So
I want to rapid fire you.
Right now, by talking to you, I'm going back and back, and I'm trying to go forward and back. And
at any point, did your attorney guarantee you a result?
Yeah.
What was that?
That I wasn't going to do no time for this.
Okay. Did he say you could dismiss it? What did he say?
He said it just like that. He says, I can get you off of this.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. We'll get this dismissed.
All right. So the one thing, and I told you this on the phone, as soon as anybody hears an attorney say that, you should run the other way. I can't tell the future. As far as I know, you can't tell the future. If I get in my car and I'm driving home, and I could get into an accident, it could be my last day on earth, right? So how could I tell? Now, I might have an inkling of weaknesses in the case, and I could tell you about strategies in the case, but I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can have all the case law on point, and the judge should say, respectfully denied, Mr. Foley. And you can tell, by the way, I just said that's happened to me before, right? Because then what happens is you have to go to an appellate process, and you got to have a lot of money to fight and appeal. A lot of people don't have that, so a lot of things get lost. So you only had the police report. You never saw the video. How do you jump to a year later, that you're going to trial? I mean, that you're taking a plea bargain. How'd that come about?
That was when he says, okay, we're going to, well, first I had to get my competency back. Okay. So I finally got that back. And then it says, okay, you're ready to go to trial for this, or, to the court, to the judge.
So I'm going to talk about competency real brief, because this is a super long video and I don't know who will watch, right? But competency ultimately, right, is there's a couple things. They'll ask you, do you know what a judge is, right? So a judge is the one who decides the law, decides your sentence, right? He's the one that presides over the proceedings. They ask you what a prosecutor is, right? Prosecutor prosecutes, right? Like their goal is to convict you of the charge or to basically prosecute you, give you a fair punishment. What does the defense attorney do, right? Defense attorney is to defend you, to make arguments on your behalf. And finally, I'm going to ask you, what does a jury do?
They hear your case and it's left up to the jury. Well, the last word is always with the judge. The jury would just come out and say, okay, he's innocent.
Correct. Guilty or not guilty.
Guilty or not guilty, right.
And that's all, just so the world knows, that's all that's really involved in a competency hearing, right? It's not some elaborate thing. You need to be able to assist. One of the other things is assist your attorney in the defense of your case.
But the thing about that is my lawyer was the one that filed for me to have a competency test.
That's very common. So let me explain to you why that's common. This happens a lot in cases, and sometimes it's almost a safe bet to do it, right? But if I have a client that's telling me something, like let's say you and I are talking about the case, right? And then you start telling me, we're talking about dogs before, pit bulls and poodles, right? And I'm saying, all right, tell me what happened, right? Well, he pulled the gun and, my pit bull was there and my pit bull barked at him. And then the poodle came over. I don't know where the poodle came from, right? Like just something that's way off, right? Because
sure, I understand what you're saying, your point.
Then you you continue to talk with your client to determine whether or not they understand what a jury does, what the judge does, the prosecutor, what you're doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
That if you think that there's even a 1% chance that the person's not understanding, you ask for a competency hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Very common.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because the bondsman, I says, well, okay, first time getting the bond, going through that procedure. So I says, well, hey man, you know any good lawyers? He says, oh yeah, I know a good one. Oh, he's a pit bull. He'll fight you, he'll fight you. And you know, and then this guy turns out to, like my wife said, told him right to his face, says the guy that recommended us to you said you're a pit bull. Seems like you're nothing but a poodle. You know.
I said that to him.
Yeah, she actually said that to him. So, you know, this is where I couldn't understand what this guy and who he's for, because the first thing I'm thinking and thought and said and still think today, he was a public defender. So who was he working for at the time? The state. So
I know that. Listen, I know that that's a popular thing to say, right? Because the government's paying, right?
Sure.
But I can tell you, and I haven't been a public defender, right? But I've been.
I know some are good, some of them are, you know.
I've been in the courtroom where they're like, I mean, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
The state attorney and the public defender, the state attorney and private attorneys, to be a class act, you have to work to get along. But
sure.
Sometimes, right, like I file motions, I make people work, I call, I advocate for my client, I proffer your story. Hey, where's the paint transfer? Where's the dent? I didn't get a picture of the cars in discovery. Mm-hmm. If someone hit me from back, there'd be something, right? Even,
correct.
Right? Enough for a man to draw his weapon, right? And to say in his police report that he think that that he'd shoot you to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something going on here, right? So you're advocating. So there are times where, listen, there's a lot of prosecutors that I really appreciate and I enjoy working with them. And there's some that I just, I grit my teeth and I try to kill with kindness because I have to work with them because you don't get to choose who the prosecutor is.
Right.
But I don't think that public defenders, because they're paid by the government, that they're state. So I understand that that's a thought, but this guy's a private attorney, but I don't want to give, even you say it, just because, if someone said all people of this do this, it's individual, right? It's individual. So I don't know that attorney's training. I don't know that attorney's experience. I obviously hear some issues that are pretty big deal to me because never looked at the car. You didn't see any pictures of the police car, right?
When they took me out, when they were taking me in, I said, yo, and there's the guys, because some of them come out when they were dropping me off. And I said, yo, man, why don't y'all look at the back of this car? Look at the back of this car. And they me and those that came out and was looking, because I know they were looking. Where is all this? Where is it? Where is, like I said, where's my paint? Where's his paint? You don't see nothing back there that said that I hit this car, And of course, you know what they say, well, tell it to the
body
judge.
Camera, right? The whole fight, the resisting, the running, all of those things, that would be on that body camera that you never saw.
Correct. So why keeping that from me?
So the hard thing, and obviously, this is after the fact because we're Monday morning quarterbacking, right? It's a true shame that you didn't get to see that video, and no one who goes through the criminal defense process, who as a defendant should ever get to a podium where they're pleading guilty or no contest or taking a plea, right? Because ultimately you became, on your very first charge, became a convicted felon.
Correct.
And how old were you at this time?
when did this happen? In 4? I would say it was 14. 2014 it happened. So I'm 31. I'm 31.
I thought it
I'm
was
60.
I thought this happened. Hang on. I'm trying to look for the date. Hang on a sec. 2016.
So I had to be, I'm 31 now, so that was,
Wait, how old
so
are
I'd have
you?
been 60, I'm 61, 31, I wish I was, 61,
So you're 61 now?
yeah.
So this was just in the
So,
last couple of years. So you're about 58,
yeah.
59, something like that.
Something, correct.
Okay. And then you pled in what? Tell me about your sentence.
After the competency thing, I was able to go in front of the judge. Like I said, when they brought me from the cell and brought me down to the courthouse, they bring you in, the bus, and you got maybe 12, 15 guys with, you know what I mean? That they were all going to court the same day. And
you were in custody at that point?
yeah.
You didn't bond out? Well, you bonded out.
I bonded out, and they that was, like I said, I was out for a year. They gonna say that I didn't mention that I didn't comply to their terms, which was have all this stuff done, this competency, this and this, and I did that, but the judge and my lawyer didn't get the court order to the people that they were supposed to give the court order to have my competency test.
Okay.
So I'm like, where is this court order? Well, Kenton, going down there to these people, see these people, and they're going to give you this test. And I went the same day. It was a Thursday.
So
I never forget.
At some point, they deemed you incompetent, right? Some doctor said,
correct, right,
he's not competent. Then you do they try to restore your competency by taking classes.
Right, okay. And all that other crap. Okay. But in the meantime, I'm still locked up. I'm locked up.
Wait, you were locked up during this time?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, okay.
Because my lawyer didn't fight for me, because the first thing he says is, because I called him, I went to court on the 14th or the 13th, and what was a Thursday or a Wednesday, and that Friday, after the court and all that, then the judge said bail it, take him, and I stood there. My wife was there, and I complied to everything they wanted me to do, and they
what did they want you to do? What didn't you comply with? I'm a little confused.
Okay, to go have a competency test.
Okay, but you did.
That's what they kept saying. But the thing about it is they never sent over the court order. I went to these places for them to give me this test, but they never sent over the court order. And I explained to the judge that my lawyer or the court, and I went to court, and they said, okay, you got another court date in the next week.
So
I said, well, okay.
Let me make sure I understand. So at some point, the judge ordered your attorney filed for a competency exam.
Right.
And then the judge ordered that you go to, one of these places to get a competency evaluation. Correct. You showed up there.
Yes.
And they didn't have, like you said, hey, this is my name. And
yep.
I don't have anything.
Correct. And they said, well, we don't have, when we get the order, then we can help you with anything and whatever you have to do. I said, but they said it was going to be there. Well, it wasn't there. So I called my lawyer. I'm still in this office. Mm-hmm. I called my lawyer, said, I'm here where they want me to be, where you told me to go. They said, we don't have the court order, and we can't help you with anything or, go through any more procedures until we get this court order to know what we need to what type of tests we need to give you and how we need to address this situation. I said, well, they're supposed to send it over. I just left the court. My lawyer so the lawyer says, well, go tomorrow. Go the next day. I went the next day. Still, I went for 3 days. Remember, I got a week before I go in front of the judge again. Mm-hmm. So it was a Thursday. I called him up. I said, yo, man, I done went there 4 days, 5 days. What's going on? They haven't got the report. He says, well, Kent, I said, well, you know, we got to go to court, it was the Thursday. I called him on a Thursday. I went down and seen him on a Thursday. I said, we got to go to court Friday. Where is this court order? What's going on? Am I going to go to jail? Oh, no. You ain't got to worry about it. You ain't got to worry about it. As soon as I get in there, it wasn't 2 minutes before that judge hit that gavel and said, bail it, take him on. And there I was, gone.
Because it hadn't been done.
Because it hadn't been done. Because she asked for that court order, but nobody sent the paperwork. Where is the paperwork? Where's the court order?
Gotcha. Let me ask you this. You know, it's always a tough thing when counsel is asking for, you know, mental health competency evaluation. I try to talk to my clients because I just think it's better. You know, if we have a communication and I explain to them the process, it's very common. But I'm looking at the motion that your attorney filed, and I don't know what's true or what's not true, but it ultimately says that the defendant's family has a history of mental illness. Did you hear that?
Not that I know of. No, I haven't heard. That's the first time I'm hearing it. Not that I know of.
Okay. And then the consequences of. Then it says the defendant does not appear to be able to testify relevantly or to assist defense counsel in the preparation of his defense or to understand the possible consequences of a plea offer. And that he does this in good faith, and he's asking that the court immediately appoint some experts to determine. Did you guys ever have how did the conversation come about for you to have a competency hearing?
It didn't come. The judge ordered this.
Oh, so he didn't say, hey, I filed a motion and the judge is going to make a decision about a doctor. You didn't know anything until the judge told you?
Till the judge told me, and I said, well, I got to go have this done? He says, yes. I said, okay. I have no problem. He said, do you have a problem with that? I said, no. He said, okay, I'm going to set it up. Okay. I said, well, where do I go? He says, well, go over so-and-so, be there by this time. I went there. I called him up. I said, nothing going on, man. Nothing going on.
Let me ask you this. Did you get any proof that you went to these places? Like when you went to wherever the clinic or the doctor's office, did you have them stamp a piece of paper just to show you were there?
Nope. Only witness I got was my wife, because she went with me.
Because she went with you. And when you got taken into custody, was your wife able to talk?
Nope, they didn't. The court got abrupted. My wife was mad and my lawyer just walked away. After the judge said, bail, take him, walked away, and my wife was sitting there yelling, and I could hear her yelling, you're not giving me my chance. Where's my rights to say on my husband's behalf? Where is this to I can say on my husband's behalf? And all I could hear as they taking me out of there is she beating on the gavel, ordering the court, because the whole court erupted. And people were saying the same thing. That's not fair. What are you doing to this man? What are you know?
Well, you had a tough judge. You definitely had a tough judge. But normally the judge will ask you, sir, I ordered you to do these things. Why haven't you done them? Was that?
Yeah. Yeah, she said that. And I looked at my lawyer. My lawyer didn't open his mouth. Didn't say one word. And
what about you? Did you say, hey, judge, I went however many times?
Yes. I explained myself because he was telling me to shut up.
Who was telling you?
My lawyer. And I said, I'm not shutting up. I said, Your Honor, can you please give me a chance to say something? Just like that. And she said, yeah. I says, he did not, and you did not. If you sent the court order for me to go over here, where is the paperwork? And as I was saying that, she was banging on that gavel. Bail it, taken.
This was a she. There was a female judge.
Yeah, Kanakis.
No, that's a male judge.
Well, his wife. I think it's his wife.
No. So maybe someone was covering that day.
I thought that her and her husband were judges.
Yeah, according to, I don't know the answer to that. The judge that's listed, again, I'm not trying to throw out names here, but the judge that's listed obviously is a male judge.
No, I had a female. I had a female judge.
But let's look. Let me look at that real quick, because it's listed as a judge that I know. Hang on a second. Let's go back to that page. I'm all about making sure I understand everything. Hang on a second. All right, so there's stand-in attorney, defendant present. All right, I see the competency evaluation, strike future things. Oh, I see where, okay. And then it went to a different judge, and you're right, that judge and his wife are both judges. Maybe that, okay, let's look, hang on.
And she's a nasty something.
Yeah, yeah.
She's nasty, man. She's bad.
Let's see, judges notice, let me look, and then defendant found competent by court. Let's go back. So there's an evidence, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, you did have some tough judges. That's weird, because you have a couple different judges here.
That's why
I've just read 3 separate judges.
Yeah,
so that's.
And each time I was going to them judges, it's like, he got, jump through the hoop of fire. First of all, let me put some gas on you. Then jump through the hoop of fire. I mean, because it kept going back and forth with the judges, and each one of them was just as worse as if,
Yeah. Well, you respectfully, you did have some of what I would consider the tougher judges. Like I said, I'm not.
Everybody told me, man,
it's enough of a battle going in on a daily basis.
Because they got nicknames, so I couldn't remember half of their nicknames.
Gotcha.
What they call them,
Yeah. All right. So looking right here, and then defendant not present in custody out of county. So then they ultimately took you to jail for that. And it's just sad. Because here's what bothers me, right? Let me just tell you, right? I'm going to assume for a second that the attorney did the right thing and got a competency hearing, right? That the doctor that said, hey, there's a competency issue, that he did his job, right? So let's just assume for 1 minute that you're not competent, right? Do you take an incompetent man and throw him into jail? Or do you lead them to give them the guidance they want? Because the whole idea of a competency hearing, right, is to see what you do know and what you don't know, and can you assist your attorney. So let's just say you were a guy who wasn't incompetent. Instead of going to the doctor's office, you went to Burger King, right, and asked for your competency hearing, right? Because there's some people who are not competent that might do something like that. It's crazy.
Sure, I understand.
Right? So let's just say you weren't mentally okay, and do you throw a mentally incompetent, right? I mean, isn't that considered cruel and unusual punishment? If anything, should they admit you to a hospital over a jail cell? Wouldn't that be more conducive to getting the result that we need? So I have a problem with that. And I would have argued that if I thought you needed a competency evaluation and for some reason you didn't do it, I know you're telling me you did, but I'm just going to take their side for a second. I have a problem up until the point of, hey, no, judge, if we need a competency hearing, how does putting him into custody help with that? Well, that makes the doctor, no, let's put him in. If everyone thinks that there's a legitimate mental health issue, let's have him admitted to a mental health hospital. Doesn't always work. Judges can do what judges want to do. But all right, so now it sounds like not only did you not get your discovery, but at least according to your recitation of the facts, he didn't make any argument for you, and you ultimately went to jail.
Correct.
How long did you stay in that jail cell before you were let out?
Shit. I did the whole 9 months.
Okay, so the day you went in there, then you had to go back to court later, right? You got the competency evaluation.
Mm-hmm. I was in jail all the time.
Okay.
Sitting waiting on a court date.
So this is
for your competency.
And this is the stuff that gets to me, and this is why your case is so interesting. And I really do appreciate you sharing, because obviously you're sharing a lot of private stuff about your case. And again, if at the end of this you say to me, hey, Raj, I don't want to use it, I won't use it, because we're not live or anything. I'm just recording on my computer. But this basically says that you were found incompetent, right? And this says, this is sort of, I got to tell you, this is some pretty weird stuff, right? So I'm going to read to you the notes real quick, right? So someone's not competent because I have one, court entry 162, 163, 64 says found incompetent, right? On the same date, on February 15th, it says that the court found you competent. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that you were present, you were found incompetent, and then the final thing is that the judge found you competent. So that doesn't make sense to me. Yes, your medical records are not going to be here. That's another thing I highly recommend that you get. Let's see. And then it looks like there was a status check sent. There was that they said that they gave you a conditional release to go to mental health. Is that accurate? Did they let you out?
Nope. That's where they did not send the papers over.
Okay.
Remember when I tell you about the court order?
Yeah.
And see, if it's in there, I never got it. My lawyer told me, okay, like I say, he instructed me to where I need to go and what I need to do.
The crazy thing is I'm looking at this, and I'm normally when the court orders something, there's an order. I'm not even seeing the order in the docket. Let me go back.
See, because it's a
Well, it can feel like the world's against you, because the problem is if no one's helping you do something or guiding you to do it, then they might as well be against you because they're not doing anything.
Correct. And that's the way me and my wife still feel today, that we are still being harassed by this same type of scenario, bull crap.
I'm looking at this. Defendant presence waived. Okay. I'm just looking. There's a lot of pages to your docket.
Yeah.
I'm looking through. Only thing I see, now it says judicial notes, right? And I click on judicial notes, and there's a little piece of paper that says court date needed, see attached order, competency, right? So we know that it exists. It's not in the computer. So you're supposed to get a copy, just so you know, when you get a judge orders you to do something, you're supposed to get a court order. So,
correct.
And I'm looking, and it's not here. Doesn't mean that you weren't handed it, but obviously you said you went down there. There's a motion granted on 10/31, and there's a court event form, which you would get a court event form in the courtroom, and you were present. So let's just say,
yeah.
And it says, it doesn't say anything about an order.
See, this is where, just like you're sitting there and you're like, wait a minute, they wanted him to do this, but where is it at? They wanted him to not do this, but where's this at? They wanted him to go here, but where is the court order for him to have to do these type of things?
So look at this. Check this out. I'm gonna enlighten you with some information right here. You went to court, right, on 10/28, right? October 28th. The docket reflects on 10/31 that there was a motion granted and that the case was transferred, right, to a different division.
Uh-huh.
On 10/31, it says you were present, right? On 10/31, it has a court event form. That court event form, you're going to understand why I'm pointing this out in a second, and so are the people who watch this video. On 10/31, all it says is strike all future dates. That's all it says, right? Now I go down a little bit more. It says order to set case in MH division. That's mental health division for them to check you out.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right? Well, that order is on 11/3. All right. So you were in court on 10/31. The order assigning you to the mental health division was not signed. Let's see the date it was signed. It was signed on the 2nd of November. That doesn't even make sense.
See this?
Hey, listen to this. You were in court on October 31st, right? They tell you you're supposed to do something. The order was signed 2 days later, right? 2 days later. And 2 days later, you were not present. Then on 11/3, the order was put into the system telling you order reassigning case to mental health and resetting it. It was signed on the 2nd. It still doesn't say anything about you being ordered, right? Just so you know.
Right.
So you were there on the 31st. On the 3rd, the judge signs the order, putting it in mental health court. Then on the 10th, right? On 11/10, November 10th, this is scary.
Tell me about it.
So on 11/10, the judge signs an order telling you to go to this doctor, right? I'm just gonna say, the doctor. I'm not gonna say his name, right? And it tells you that the next court date is gonna be on the 16th of December, right? So that's an order, right? Well, how are you supposed to get the order? You're not in court. So that means your attorney would have to send you a copy of the order. Somehow I'm guessing that you don't have an email with the attorney sending you
nothing
paperwork.
Because he has our email addresses, both of ours, mine and my wife's, and we got nothing.
So look at this. So now, I'm going to tell the story because I can read between the lines. I've been doing this 16 years.
Sure.
So on that date, I just told you that date. Let me just go back a second. I'm going to go back a date. So on 11/10, they ordered the expert. That means some order was sent out, had to go to your attorney.
What year was that?
2016.
Okay.
All right. We're going to attack the justice system for a second.
Okay.
So on this here, it says, let's see, I'm going to see who it was CC to. Hang on a second. Listen to this. They sent it to the experts, the court psychologist, right? They have his name here in his email. Then they said that a copy to the sheriff if defendant is in custody. Obviously, you weren't in custody at that time, so you never got a copy, right? I might even send this to the court.
And what date was that?
Hang on a sec. So then the state attorney got a copy. Your attorney got a copy, right? And court finance got a copy, and mental health got a copy, right? That was all, and that was signed November 10th, 2016, right? It also gives you another court date. Well, there's a status check for 12/16 because you're obviously supposed to go to the doctor. Now we go to the 16th, right? So it says mental health evaluation the 29th. Doesn't really tell me anything. It says your driving record was submitted. It says that there is a report that you went to a doctor. Hang on. The defendant present. Expert appointed per court. Court notice, that's all 12/16. On 12/16, it looks like they ordered another expert because that's the process. You go to one. If he finds you incompetent-
I did two of them.
So now this is a second date. All right. So, and this is signed, and they're resetting your date for January of 2017. Now we're going to go through. They say, and it says the defendant is present. So they're giving you an order, appointing the expert, and that's, so make sure I don't want to take the wrong thing. Let's make sure. On 12/16, there's an order. Let's just make sure it's dated the proper time, because this is how stuff falls through the system. December 16th, it was signed, and it doesn't say a copy is given to you. This almost looks like it's mailed out. And the doctor that you saw, I know him, very, very good doctor. All right, so now we go there. Says doesn't even say that. Were you there? Let's look at this. Hang on a second. 12/16, were you there? Hang on.
Yeah, I went to both of those.
Hang on.
Doctors.
Yeah, but it says the defendant present, and then they gave you. Okay, then the expert was given. Now I don't know if that was sent out later in the day. Then on January 6th, you were present. Now you're in front of another judge. My goodness, this is jumping back and forth between judges. All right, so then you have a notice of hearing. On January 6th, you go there. Doesn't say anything. I don't know if there's a second page, but it just has the counts. It says status check sent stated for 2 weeks later. Notice of hearing is returned. Defendant's presence is waived. Why? So your appearance was waived. Then the evidentiary hearing was continued until February 15th. There was a notice of hearing given. You were not there, so your attorney would have had to given you that. Now,
no, I was there. I didn't have to be there.
Well, it says you weren't there, but they made a
I
mistake.
I remember, because I went up and stood in front of the judge with him, because she said, "Is Mr. Garrett here?" I said, and he said, "Yeah," because that's the date I think because that was on if I'm not mistaken, that was on a Thursday.
So let me tell you. So now we get to the 15th, right? So it says February 15th, the defendant found incompetent. Then the very next line, it says the defendant was present. Then the very next line says that the parties stipulate to the reports. And then the next line says defendant found competent. So which is it? Are you found incompetent or competent? Right? So let's just keep going, because that's pretty weird. Right? So I'm going to look at the court event form, because there's a court event form. They make little notes of what happened on your case. On that note form, it says that you were found competent and that trial notes were added. Now, it's weird because on the court action, it says found incompetent. So this is a big cluster, right? But now we're going to go to the next page for February. At this point, it says incompetency transmitted. Order finding defendant incompetent. Let's look at the order. On 2/27, February 27, which is my birthday, it says has been found incompetent. All right. Now it's weird because all those pieces of paper are saying incompetent, competent, competent, incompetent.
Right.
Now it says defendant will remain in community-based outpatient mental health treatment for the conditional release, right? And that's to be done at the 45th Street, right?
Correct.
And it says you're supposed to go to some treatment 3 times a week. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember they telling me that, and
Okay.
I went there. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I went there.
All right. And then, all right. And then remember what we talked about before, competency restoration. They're supposed to do competency restoration. All right. So boom. So you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now you're in there and you're doing your thing. And you come back from 3-3 to 5-12. Someone from them testifies and they have to say, I don't know what they said, but someone from the mental health place testifies. And then the judge takes you in for failure to comply with the conditional release.
That's the part right there.
So there's a couple things. You were ordered to go 3 times a week. You were ordered to take medication, right? And to cooperate with them. Did you do medication and go 3 times a week?
Okay, here's the problem.
Okay.
They never sent over that court order. I asked, where's the court order? I explained to them what I could afford and can't afford. I am compliant. And like I said, I'm talking to my lawyer. He says, oh, okay, Ken, I understand, da, 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 da. I said, but they say, where is the court order?
Who asked that? You did or the...
I asked it, the judge and everybody. And my wife was even there and said that they said they're going to send over the court order. I said, well, I'm on my way down there now. And he says, okay, go ahead. But he says, well, give it a couple of days and it'll be there. So he says, go back.
You should have had a copy. You should have had a copy of that order.
I didn't get a copy of nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
So when you go down to that place on 45th, do they reject you?
Yeah, because they couldn't treat you or do anything because they don't have a court order.
Okay, so that's just one time. So they issued the order back in March, and then you go back March 6th, and then you go back for court on 5/12. So that's roughly 2 months, right? 2 months and 6 days. During that 2 months and 6 days, how many times did you go over there?
3 times.
And all 3 times they rejected you?
They rejected.
Your attorney never called for you? Are you there?
Never.
Okay.
Because I called him as I'm in there. And I'm talking, Mr. Garrett, we would like to work with you on this, but we don't have a court order. So we don't know how to treat you or what is they want. So we can, help you with the court order and so forth and so on. And that's when I called my lawyer right out there in the parking lot where I was on 45th Street. And he's telling me, wait a couple of days. He says, go back tomorrow. I went the next day, which was probably the 13th and the 14th. And I think the 15th or the 14th, I got locked up.
Okay. So what I usually do if I have a client that has to get an evaluation or has to do treatment and they have a problem, right? The first avenue is for my client to try to do it on their own. If they can't do it, they call me, right? And then they relay to me, hey, I would tell you, if you were sitting in the parking lot, I'd say, who are you talking to? Walk back in there and give me a name so I can call. And then I would call and say, okay, what do you need? What he's telling me that he can't come in, because then I can advocate for my client. I got a copy of it. I go, what's your email? Let me send it to you. What's your fax? Let me send it.
Correct.
Right.
Because I sat right there and I says, I'm telling the lawyer, look here, man, I'm sitting here in the office. They said they don't have no court order. What do you want me to do next? Well, Kent, just go back tomorrow about 9 o'clock or whatever, and I show up. Then I show up the third day and still nothing. And the same receptionist and everybody is sitting there saying, and I said, well, this is a court order. I have to do this. You know what I mean? Because it's a court order. And they say, well, we can't help you. What do you want us to do? And I said, well, because, their hands are tied because they can't do nothing. You know what I mean? And they don't have the court order. So that's where it just...
So then you sat in jail and you had to do what, competency classes in the jail?
Yeah.
And then somehow, when you were in the jail, did they give you any medication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then according to them, right, you went into jail on 5/12, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the packet was given on 6/2, and you went back to court on 7/5. So in less than 2 months, you now went to another judge back to the trial court division, and now the doctors at the jail said, oh, he's good. Right?
It's getting more complicated as we go into this, man. So
no, but it's true, right? Like,
yeah,
hey, he's not competent. They actually put you in jail for not complying when they
said he's competent.
Yeah, competent, then incompetent, then 2 months in sitting in jail, which is about the standard court date reset. Reset, and now you're competent, and now you go into court, and you've been sitting in custody for 2 months, and now you're basically sentenced to 9 months.
Correct.
So then you take your plea, you do another roughly 6-7 months, and then you get out.
Yeah. Well, basically, it was, if you add it all up, it came up to almost a year, 11 and some change, because you get your what they call it, time served, or Yeah,
you get credit for time served.
Yeah. So yeah, I got like 3 months, I think I was in there, something like that, and then I got sentenced. Yeah.
So Division B. Hang on a sec. Then this is just weird. So hang on. So then
yeah.
I'm looking at the court event form from 7/14. There was a status check.
Mm-hmm.
They're still saying that. Oh, sorry. So it does look like you took the plea that day. Okay. So then they kept resetting it. You're staying in court. Basically, there's a bond set. They give you a bond at $3,000 on each count.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. And geez Louise. I mean, it's just, this is just sad to me, man. Like, straight up, this is sad. And it makes, I almost want to be an investigative reporter and start pulling this stuff from the court and get these dates and see what was actually said.
What the hell went on? Because me and my wife sat here and did the same thing. I mean, I got tons and tons and tons and tons of all this, the information. You can see, I got more and more and more of this. And the more we try to figure it out, it's like they railroad me. You know what I mean? And I know they did. That's why, if I have to spend money to find out, the real deal of this, then unfortunately I have to. I don't.
You stayed in custody all the way till September of 2017, and then you took a plea.
Mm-hmm.
Plea conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then stand-in attorney, I guess, for the state. Per counsel. Wait, treatment and treasure code. So you must have bonded out. So you did bond out, right?
Yeah, but that's when they said I didn't comply, and that's when they locked me up on that 15th, I think it was.
Yeah, no, but this goes a few months later. So it looks like there was a bond set. It looks like you probably, I don't know if you bonded.
Oh, okay. I was supposed to get one that time. My lawyer said, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna get you a bond, blah blah blah, another bond." So they put that hearing up. Now I'm still locked up. Now they never called me to go to court that day. My wife showed up and says, asked the lawyer, where's my husband?
Okay.
What's and I guess they denied me a bond that day or something. I really,
Yeah, you don't know the system. So then
right.
in order to transport on 9/28, I'm going through
Right.
everything.
Right.
So they transport you.
Back to Palm Beach County.
Okay. So they transport you back.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you go to that place for?
Just a little under 3 months.
Okay, so you went from jail to that treatment facility?
Right. That's the first, when I first came in. And then I went and got my competency. Then they shipped me back. And that's when I got, you'll see the sentence date.
So then your attorney made a motion to let you be on house arrest for the jail sentence, and that was denied by the judge.
Right.
Hang on. You took a guilty plea. Let's see. What did they charge? Okay. Now we're getting to the very end here. So the lesser charge of aggravated assault, deadly weapon. I don't know what they changed it to. I can't see the form. They adjudicated you guilty. Palm Beach County Jail, 364 days, got 163 days credit. Probation for 30 months. Substance abuse evaluation, but you said you're not a drug guy, right?
No, I did all the tests and everything and did through the whole thing.
Compliance with the treatment center, reserved to the amount with hearsay and causation waived, guilty plea, adjudication withheld. I'm not sure on which count because I got to look at the plea sheet. Full compliance, restitution order, compliance with medication. You see, I'm taking a lot of time because
No, go ahead, man.
I'm in a system that I want to make sure the system works, right? And right now we only hear your version, and I can read between the lines on a lot of things. But it just makes me. I see a guilty plea. I'm looking for the paperwork. Here we go. So defendant present in custody, testified, PSY, $1,474 in costs.
Mm-hmm.
Application fee, cost of prosecution, court event form. Let's look at this plea sheet. Let's look at the plea sheet because it says the lesser charge. Let's see. So aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, count 1, third-degree felony. Battery on law enforcement, count 2, third-degree felony. Resisting officer with violence, third-degree felony. Resisting without violence, misdemeanor, time served. Criminal mischief, time served. Restitution ordered. Full compliance with all evaluations. Reserved to amount. Defense waives any defects in nexus for restitution purposes. What the hell? What restitution? Is there a dent on the car? What's the restitution? Hang on. So now we got. Let's see. I'm going to your score sheet. And half of this stuff, you don't even sound like you had it. So let's see. You scored.
I didn't know there was a score sheet.
Yeah, everything's online, my friend.
No, I don't mind about the line. I'm talking about the score. The score. Yeah. It's almost like saying,
ultimately, you were sentenced to 364 days in jail and 30 months of probation, and not a deposition taken. There was a technical violation at some point, because of money, and then your probation terminated, and you owed them some money. So, your version of events is interesting, right? Reading the docket is interesting because it doesn't really look like due process occurred. And when I say due process, you know, if your wife took you to those visits, right? I would have liked to see some testimony from your wife. If I was your attorney, I'd say, Judge, you know, before you take him into custody, you know, for not doing what he's supposed to do, his wife's here, his wife's brought him to these things. She will tell you this. Now, obviously, you're telling me I haven't talked to your wife. You know, I'm not an investigative reporter. But what it looks like is some things happened. It looks like you ended up in jail on a case that maybe you didn't end up in jail. You hired a private attorney. I know, how much did you spend for that private attorney? You know exactly? $5,000. All right. So as I told you, or let me tell you, on someone has, you know, some felony cases, a plea, right? When you're looking at a plea bargain, you're usually looking at between that $3,500 and I'd say $3,500 to $6,000 for a plea on a case like this. But there has to be some due diligence, right? You still got to go through discovery. You still got to share the information with your client. You still got to show the client what's good for them, what's bad for them. There was a deposition taken, at least there was a notice for some officer. Your defense attorney listed a defense witness as a police officer, a sergeant. Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Okay. But your witness, the person who was in the car, was not listed.
Exactly.
That's great. So let me go. I'm going to look and just see what.
And who is this officer that was a witness? What was he witnessing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he's there. What I'm trying to look for is in the beginning, right? When you pled not guilty and all that, I just want to see if the state filed a state witness list. Because I'm curious if your passenger was listed on that. So hang on a second. I'm going to look. And the state to provide discovery, 413. So they hadn't done it yet. Let's see.
Now, why my lawyer couldn't do this with me? With all what you're doing?
I don't know, my friend. And, I don't know. All right, I found the discovery. All right. Just tell me your passenger's first name.
Victoria.
All right. So she's listed on the state's witness list. What that means is the state was going to use her as a witness against you. If I was talking to her, you told me in the beginning, you told us all that your attorney spoke with her and he took notes. I got to tell you, man, I almost feel like an investigative reporter right here. I'm almost thinking like, hey, I might want to do a Zoom with Victoria and get Victoria's version without you being there, because I'm curious of what she saw. She's listed as a witness against you.
Against me.
Against you. And you're telling me that you were there and she talked to your attorney and told her that you didn't hit the car and you didn't do that. So I got
and her sister, which is my wife, took her to court several times when I'm locked up.
And that does happen. But what I would be doing if I was a defense attorney is I would be listing, well, sometimes I'll list her as a witness, sometimes I won't. If I plan on calling her, then I have to adopt her as a witness, meaning I adopt all the state's witnesses and say any witness they got, I'm going to call them as a defense witness, or I specifically list them on my defense witness list. So if he got notes, we don't know, right? Because we don't know what your attorney did, whether or not he sent a letter to the state attorney, an email, hey, this witness is saying this. But I got to tell you, I know this prosecutor, and I also know that I've had cases with her before where it looked really bad, but then I talked to her and I explained things, and she worked with me. So I know you didn't have a horrible prosecutor. It's did your attorney advocate for you? Remember, a prosecutor's job is to prosecute, and a defense attorney's job is to advocate for his client. I don't know if that happened.
Man, this whole situation is really bizarre, and that's putting it mildly. Because how could 1 minute I'm hearing something from her that she is willing to testify on my behalf, and now I'm hearing all of this, and now all of a sudden she has become a witness, you know.
Well, that's very common. It's not like that they didn't talk to her and make her a witness because she was present, she was listed as a witness. She didn't do anything wrong. She may not even know she was listed as a witness. But this says, when I look at the police report, right, the officer, see, this is another problem I have, okay? So this officer, right, I ain't going to say his name, but
I know his name.
I know you do. This officer, he wrote the police report. I don't know that it says I got to tell you, I kind of have even a problem with him being the arresting officer. Let's see, is he the arresting officer? It says I. So isn't he technically the victim of a crime? So I got to tell you, like, preferably, right, you would preferably, and I would probably be asking a question is, he's writing the police report, but he's also a victim in the case. Protocol should be that a sergeant arrives on scene, he writes the police report and lists that police officer as a victim of a crime. That doesn't seem right. I mean, it's a little formality, but dot the I's, cross the T's. Do your job, advocate for your client. I don't know if there's other reports. I didn't see them. When I went to the discovery page, I wish people could see what I was doing, but I don't have the technical capabilities. So 417 is when they gave the discovery. And it says it lists the witnesses.
But what you're saying makes sense. I mean,
yeah, it says that there's a body camera worn. It says that there were statements made by you, which, you know, and then it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 officers. And there's a report written. Okay, hang on. Let's see if them reports are here. Let's do this the right way. Hang on a second.
You sure you don't work for the police?
Me?
Yeah. It seems like, the reason why I'm asking this is because you seem to have ability to get all of this. And my lawyer.
Just so you know, man, you can look this up yourself and see everything I'm seeing. It's on the Clerk of Court website for Palm Beach County. If you go to Google, type Clerk of Court, you can see every document I'm reading. Okay,
you know, it just seems ironic that my lawyer.
You never did any of this.
Couldn't did that. No, none.
I gotta tell you.
I mean, I know it's public. It's public stuff. You know, I get that.
You don't know this. You've never been arrested. How are you supposed to know this?
Correct. Exactly.
All right. The supplemental report. It says EMT reports. So this had to be sent to your attorney. It's not on the clerk's website. I'm going to click on number 82. I'm going to click on 83 because it's telling me that there's other reports. Copy of certified conviction. Hey, this says that you had a prior conviction in 2014.
Of what?
I don't know.
Okay, here's where I had to fight and fight and fight with Palm Beach County about this. I got a twin brother.
Okay.
He's a convicted felon. He did probably over 20 some odd years in prison.
Okay.
And every time you turn around, I was getting, because of course we got the same birthday. His name is Kenneth Taylor Garrett. My name is Kenton Taylor Garrett. And I had to go down because I couldn't get jobs and they thinking I was him. I mean, there's so many things that I had to go through. So I went down to back in 1995. I'll never forget it because I keep the paper in my wallet that shows my fingerprints, who I am, my name.
Mm-hmm.
And it has down there AKA aliases of I got 7 brothers. 3 of my brothers use my name. My twin brother, my brother Kenneth, my brother Terry, my brother David. And at the times, I was living in Bridgeport, Connecticut, married. My wife got murdered. My children got murdered. Yes.
Damn.
So all these things is happening down here in Florida, and jobs changed, and I moved back here to Florida back in 1990. I would say 91, 92.
Okay.
And because my wife got murdered in 1986, 7, somewhere around there. And I came back here and didn't know they used my name because I'm trying to get a job, trying to get myself going, get my license, transfer this and this to Florida State. And they're saying I'm this guy. Well, who used my name? So I had to get, that's why I have a stack of, and I got to prove who I am. Guy says, well, we would love to hire you, but we can't because we don't know who you are. So now I went down, got my fingerprints, got this, got all kind of IDs to prove who I am. If I get pulled over for a minor infraction, running the stop sign, running the light, speeding, I always got taken to jail because they're thinking I'm Kenneth or I'm David or I'm Terry.
So you got, when you had that problem, you compared your fingerprints to their fingerprints if they had been convicted.
Correct. Because they were fingerprinted at the time.
Yeah, of course. So they could compare and say, well, it's called not me.
Right.
Not
and they came down and they said, okay, Mr. Garrett, this is not you. But it would be to your benefit if the next officer, because they don't know if you get pulled over for a minor infraction or something, to show them this paper.
Okay.
And that's what I always have to do.
So that was a 2014 case?
No, this was, no. I don't even know what you're talking about, this 2014.
Let me tell you, because this has to do with why you were sentenced. Did you tell this story to your attorney?
Yeah.
You told him about carrying the thing, and because
yeah, the twin brother and everything. I told him about everything that basically that I had to go through, and to basically to an ongoing problem that I'm having.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna look this up right now. Come on. Copy of certified conviction. Hang on a second. I got to put the note in my notepad. I'm going to look up this case right now.
Okay.
Because let me tell you, Kenton, this is what's going on. If the prosecutor thought that you you were already a convicted felon.
No, they ask me these type of questions, and I explained to my lawyer, and we got an understanding, and the courts did too. Okay, this is Kenton. Okay, this is not David Thomas Garrett. This is not Kenneth Taylor Garrett. This is not Terry Jonathan Garrett. This is Kenton Garrett. And I had to get an extra address put on my license to, you know what I mean? So, okay, this is him. He got a twin brother, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I've been through all.
The prosecutor filed something that says that you were already a convicted felon, and I don't see anything in here. Let's go back. You know what, that score sheet, remember the score sheet that I looked at? Let's go back and look at that real quick, because where's the score sheet? There it is. Hang on a sec. Let's say 16, 16, 16 prior record. All right, so just so you know, according to the prosecutor, you had 4 prior misdemeanor charges.
No, that's not me. It's not me. And I went to court several times on these allegations, and they know that's not me. They know that.
So listen to this. You scored according to this. This is something that your attorney is supposed to object to, right? So one of the things that comes up in a score sheet, the whole reason that you get a score sheet is so you can go over it with your attorney. And your attorney is supposed to go over the score sheet with you. So here's what they have. They have 36 points for the aggravated assault, right? Deadly weapon. They have 3.6 for the battery on the law enforcement. Resisting officer without violence, 5.4. And so that basically adds up to 36 and 9.40, right? So 36 and 9, right, is 43, correct? 43.40, right? You hearing me out?
Yeah.
All right, 43.40. You always, not always, but you're looking at incarceration once you get to 44 points. So you were just under, and is my math wrong? All right, 36 and 8. Oh, no, sorry. 36 and 8. All right, 36 and 8 is 44, 45. Okay, so you scored roughly 45.40. And then they added 0.8 on because for various misdemeanors. You always got to check it. Now, it's only 0.8. You know, it's not even 1 point, but anything over 44 gives you points. I mean, it gives you incarceration. But you didn't even go over this with your attorney?
I explained to him, just me and my wife did the same thing. We took all my papers down there, everything, and showed him. See this?
Yeah.
I am not this guy. This guy is my twin brother. So when you pull up stuff, he says, oh, I know. I pulled up your records and all that, and I see that, you know, this and that and da. So why would they use all of his and throw them onto mine?
Gotcha. Did you ever review the score sheet with your attorney?
This is the first time I ever heard this.
Gotcha.
But I don't, like I said, I don't know. I didn't know you have a score sheet.
So you've never been arrested before?
No.
Crazy.
Child support.
Child support. I got you. But that's different. That's called the purging, where they make you pay a certain amount to get out to get child support. It's not
exactly.
They may suspend your driver's license for it.
Back then, they were doing that.
Okay. So yeah, he's supposed to go over what those are, and you know, because here's what happens. It says miscellaneous. It's not a lot. It's only less than a point, but still got a duty to go over it.
Still a point.
I'd say to the prosecutor, what are these points? What are these charges? Can you pull them up? Then I walk over to you. Hey, Ben, maybe it was a driving while license suspended. Maybe it was a weed. Maybe it was a something small. to
Sure.
talk. You're saying, hey, I never even been arrested before. Hey, no, I'm going to object to that. I got concerns, man. I really wish that somehow you would have found me before, Kenton, before you pled to this case.
Yeah, I do too.
Because and again, obviously, we can guess. I'm not going to down anybody, but it just sounds like you really didn't have a lot of information on the case. And I know that they're going to say, well, he wasn't competent for a while. Well, if he wasn't competent, why are you putting him in jail for a while? And did you just magically restore competency? Yeah, I don't think people are incompetent and get competent.
Because I mean, you right. That's my point there. I mean, how this is not a light switch. He's on, he's off, and he's competent now. He's not competent.
Yeah, it's just like a drunk driver, right? A drunk driver
exactly
can act drunk at the scene, and 20 minutes later, when he gets to the police department, all of a sudden he acts perfect. You go, oh, whoa. Yeah, no, you don't just sober up like that. You don't competent or incompetent like that.
Sure.
My humble opinion.
Sure.
So, man, I'm sorry that I'm part of the system that you're in, because if I could help every single person, I would,
Sure.
All I can do is for each client. It disturbs me. It really makes me want to reach out. I really would like to talk to Victoria. If you talk to Victoria tonight or during the week, you go, hey, I talked to this attorney, humor me. Let me Zoom with her without you there, and I can get her version and kind of put something together, because I don't know. I got some problems with what happened. Could justice have been served? It could have. There's a possibility. But the way you're talking to me, the way you're articulating, yourself, I tend to believe you. Now, you could have said, yeah, man, I made a mistake. I lost my cool. I tried to run over the cop. You're telling me you didn't even make a U-turn. You said you opened the door before you hit the curb. You said, I'm going to come to a stop. There's a difference. Where are the pictures?
Exactly.
Where's the video? This one I'm asking you to do, man.
Exactly.
This is what we should do. The case has been over for a while, right? You know your attorney's name, correct? Don't tell me. Just you know who he is, right?
Yeah, I know.
Here's what you're going to do. A polite email. You're going to send him an email, right? You're going to send him an email, and you're going to say, I would like a copy of my videos sent to me. Okay? He's going to send you a copy. I want you to email it, and I want you to send a written letter in the mail. Spend 50 cents spend 50 cents. And get a copy of it. I want to see it. We're going to make sure that things were done the right way, and we're going to tell people through your story how things are supposed to be done, and we're going to look at that video. I've never done this before, man. I've never done this, but you interest me. Your case interests me, and I think what an opportunity to help other people.
Sure. And that's why I agreed to do this. Like I say, this is my first time doing something like this anyway. But it always bothered me that this case and the way it went and how I was so misinformed about a lot of things. And I explained this to my attorney that, this is my first time. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know nothing about this judicial system, no more than it can be unfair. They can fabricate. They can, like you say, it's the pot calling the kettle black. You see what I'm saying? Because this officer, he's going to write a report about himself, but yet he's a victim, So he can basically say anything he wants and then turn around and jump in the victims, you know what I mean? And say, oh, I'm a victim and this how it is. But let me jump back over here. I'm writing a report on myself. I mean, I don't think he's going to let himself turn out to be the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I mean, we know these things go on and on and on, and it still goes on. And this is 21st century. And, you know, the problems we're having in America today. It's it's a, you know, it's a biased judicial system that is, it just tends to not go fairly, you know, to where you say, okay, do we need to do this to this guy? How, you know, like they say, how do you expect to rehabilitate a person when you're not helping them? You're making it worse for the whole system. So, but you know, like I say, man, this has been bothering me for the longest, and it still does today.
Yeah.
You know, I go on with my life. I'm 61 years old. I just had a birthday the other week. But
Related, my friend.
I mean, I don't look at a person to judge that person. If you treat me fairly, I treat you fairly. I never met you. I just picked up something on the internet and started looking at lawyers and so forth and so on, because I'm still going through this process of why are they consistently want to harass me? Why are they consistently want to push me to that edge or to that point? You know what I'm saying? I'm on the edge. They put me there for the longest. My brothers put me there. You know, and then there's like, let's keep pushing him. And it's been going on for a long time. When is he going to jump? When is he going to jump?
Well, Judge,
when is he, you
just
know?
remember, now you have that convicted felon status. So anytime you come into contact
Right.
with law enforcement, you have to be that much more cautious,
Yes.
respectful, and
Yes.
not argue, because you can never win. You can never win the
No.
battle in the street. So
No.
you say, hey, if you arrested me, you put your hands up, and and that's it.
And I've always done that. Always complied. I never had a problem with law enforcement, whether I like them or not. I understand their position. I understand their job. They should be getting paid $1 million a day, if it, you know, my opinion. But I don't look at them as just to say they're good guys or bad guys. I judge them on, you know, they're taking orders. They're taking orders. They took an oath. Are they fulfilling their oath when they raised their right hand over their heart? Of course not. You know, of course not. We know that to be a fact. That they you know, are.
Let me ask you this: were you ever in the military?
No. None of that.
What'd you do for a living? You know,
I was a truck driver.
Okay.
Truck driver. So I dealt with the public. I dealt with, you know, all kind of type of things on the road, you know. So, you know, it's not a point where I never respect anybody or disrespect anybody. You treat me fairly, I treat you fairly. It doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, what your gender is. You know, I might not never see you again. You know what I mean? So why should I want to judge just because, you know, as they say sometimes that first appearance is your, you know, what you take upon that person to who they are always.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On the bad day, bad thing.
Exactly.
Like you came into contact with this police officer, and maybe he was having that bad day, but he certainly wrote some very descriptive things about what you did, what you said in the accident. And you're saying today,
right,
even after the case is over and you've done time, you're still saying, hey man,
yeah,
I didn't do that.
Exactly. So this cop here has a lot of write-ups about him that people really, I mean, especially, you know, in the streets, that you know, they had to file agreements against him, you know, to about
the internal affairs complaint.
Yeah,
You did.
a couple of them.
Again,
But this not well, not with the West Palm, but with the with the sheriff's department I have.
for this police officer though?
No.
Oh,
This police officer is a West Palm.
okay.
Yeah.
You didn't file anything against him?
No. But as I was going on and then I got released, I started learning about this cop,
Okay.
you know, because a couple of times he showed up in certain situations. I'm like, what is he doing here? And he knew I know who he was, but then he turns his back. You see what I'm saying? And he knew I was going to show up there. Oh, he knew it. That's why.
Where did he show up that you were at?
The 45th Street place.
At the treatment facility.
Yes. And as I'm coming through, I'm looking, and because he knew, he seen me come in, but then he turns around, and he stays turned around, and I'm asking the reception at the desk, my name, why I'm here, blah 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 blah. You see. So
was that one of the times when they said you didn't show up?
Yes, that was one of the times.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, and my wife will even tell you. My wife, I says, baby, there goes the, and she says, yeah, I know, I seen him when we came in. Pay him no attention, honey. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, better off keeping your distance.
Right. Well, I wasn't going to say shit to him because I know what time it, I know what's really going on. Like I said, I could see him anywhere, and it doesn't matter. I would look at him. I wouldn't say nothing to him and walk right past him.
Sure.
But I'm not out to do nothing to that person, or I know he lied. I know he falsified evidence. I know he sat right there just like you explained. 1 minute he's the victim, but yet he's the one writing the report that he's seen what went on, and he's writing down that he's a victim.
I'm not saying that that's impossible, but I don't know what procedure is for the police, for that particular police department. But I'm guessing, and I'm a pretty good guesser because I do this a lot. I think that if 4 other officers showed up on scene, one of them could actually write the formal arrest, even if you had been detained.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You were detained, not necessarily arrested. So, I mean, of course you were arrested. What I'm saying is, if he had to struggle with what he said, I mean, he would write a report for sure, but it's really a victim statement. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it's impossible, but I think I've seen it before, but I think it would be preferred, right, that someone else write the report. I interviewed, the police officer Jones, who said that it's going to be a regurgitation, but just someone else being the official, the arresting officer, and the victim. I don't know if that's the same. I guess it's possible, but
Yeah, I guess.
Hey, talk to Victoria. See if she'll get on with me sometime this week, and we'll talk to her. And I really appreciate it. I'm going to look into this more. It bothers me, man. And
yeah, man, just you got my email address. If you find something that come up, if you want to me to call you, or if you want to, just drop me an email. And
do me a favor. Well, do I have your email address? Yeah, I do. Hey, do me a favor. Just today's Monday. Why don't we link back up on Thursday? Give me a call Thursday.
Okay.
And we'll give you some time to talk to her and see, and just call me and say, hey, yeah, she's willing to spend 15 minutes and tell her story from that day.
Okay. I'll do that. This Thursday coming.
Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who knows?
Like you said, you may help one person, you may help 100 people. We don't know.
Right.
It's a very interesting story, and you lived it, and we all have interesting stories, and yours is there's a lot going on there, man.
Too much.
Hey, my friend, I appreciate you taking the time to call my office to ask me questions, and I even especially Thank you for taking the time to go on Zoom so we can do this, and I can put this on my channel so other people can learn from it.
All right, my man.
All right. Keep in
All
touch.
right.
Talk to you Thursday.
Oh, I sure will. Thank you now.
God bless, man. Have a good day.
All right, you too now.